Oh, man. Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. First game after the All-Star break, and the Knicks get humiliated on their home court. I was going to say humiliate themselves, but no, because that would be doing a disservice to the Detroit Pistons, who in that second half did exactly what they intended to do, which was put a beat down on the New York Knicks, regardless of what court it was on. And they did this time. They did the first two games. They beat the crap out of the Knicks in the first two games that happened to be in Detroit. And this being the last game that the Knicks will face Detroit this season in the regular season, it was close. It was only a 2-point game about 4 minutes into the third quarter, and then things started unraveling, and they ended up losing 126-111 to the Detroit Pistons. The Knicks had no answers for Cade Cunningham. Mike Brown came out with virtually the same exact game plan. I know I've read that in the post-game, he said, we didn't adhere to our new defensive scheme. We let Cade, feast in the middle of the court where they're supposed to be pushing him to the sidelines. But you know what? You're the coach, bro. Call a fucking timeout. Get them together. Put someone else on the court that will do what you want them to do. At some point, Mike Brown is going to have to stand up against this team, his own players, and establish who is the boss. Are the players the boss? Or are you the boss, Mike Brown? I know they missed. They were one of 16 at one point from the 3-point line. I think in the first half, and the Knicks were down 10. They came out in that third quarter. They actually had cut the deficit down to 5, and then it got as close as 2. But they still could not stop the Pistons. The 50-50 balls went mostly, 70-80% of the time to the Pistons. The Knicks got destroyed on the boards, which that's one of our calling cards. And this is a game where Jalen Duren could not play because of suspension, and Isaiah Stewart, Beef Stew, did not play as well. And we had the return of OG Anunoby for the first time in I can't remember how many games. And remember, the Knicks have had 8 days off since they last played. Well, Cat and Jalen, they played on Sunday. They had to go to All-Star Weekend and all that. But Mike Brown had 8 days to prepare for this game. This was supposed to be a statement game where the Knicks reestablish who they are, their presence in the East, just breathing down the neck of the Detroit Pistons, and the exact thing happened. Exact opposite thing happened. The Pistons came out and established that they are the cream of the crop in the East, and the Knicks are the chasers. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. Cat only had 3 shot attempts in the first half. How does Mike Brown come out and this remember, no Jalen Duren, no Beef Stew, Paul Reed. Paul Reed nearly outplayed Cat. Cat ended up waking up in the second half. But Paul Reed, by that point, had already established himself. He was blocking Cat here and there. He was being left wide open under the basket for easy passes. Truly, an incredibly disappointing result for the New York Knicks tonight. They should be embarrassed. The Knicks players should be embarrassed. Knicks players, the Knicks coaching staff, everybody associated with the Knicks. I'm embarrassed. Personally. Now, does this mean it's the end of the world? Does this mean this is it? Detroit's going to completely, own the East in the playoffs? It doesn't mean that. That's the unfortunate part about the regular season. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Last year, against the Pistons, the Knicks were 1 win and 3 losses. Against the Celtics, they were 0 wins and 4 losses. Meanwhile, in the playoffs, they beat them both, sent them home, sent them to Cancun in 6 games. Meanwhile, they beat the Pacers 2 out of 3 games in the regular season, and then Knicks were the ones sent home in 6 games in the playoffs. So regular season is not necessarily indicative, and I tweeted that out during this the week here. No one even responded to that tweet. I don't know what happened with Twitter buried it or something, but the regular season is not necessarily indicative of the postseason. However, the way that the Pistons have been beating the Knicks, that is something to be concerned about. Their physicality, their athleticism, they are a fantastic defensive team, and they have completely taken the Knicks out of their game plan. Now, can I say that Knicks going 1 of 16 in the first half was because of the Pistons' tremendous defense? Actually, it wasn't. A lot of it was OG Anunoby, who hasn't played in weeks, super rusty. He was just missing threes after threes. And, what are you going to do? You got to keep shooting. That's how you get your rhythm back. But it was unfortunate. That was the state. That's where he was. He couldn't hit a buck. He couldn't make a bucket. Landry Shamet started off cold as fuck. Alvarado as well. So, at some point you're like, okay, what can the team do? Well, they can maybe go to Cat. Maybe establish Karl Anthony Towns early, down low, on the block. But no. Not really sure what Mike Brown's game plan actually was for this game. It was hard to tell. Really hard to tell. Anyway, welcome into the Knicks-Verse. Thank you guys for joining me here. And if you're watching this later on, please drop your comments. Thank you for watching. Hit the thumbs up button for me and share the video. That'd be great. Shout out to the chat who's rolled up to join me here. I'm sure we got some frustrated fans right here. Yes, we do. We got Trapped in the 90s. He's pissed off. Got Vinny G, 3393. Backs no adjustments. Danielle Tilson. He's like, already need a new coach. Bravado. Mike Brown looked lost and overwhelmed. He did. On the sidelines when they kept cutting to him. Now, there's a couple ways to interpret that from my point of view. One, he looked like confused that the Knicks were not implementing the game plan that he had put forth. That's one way to look to interpret that face that he had. The other one is that he just looked like he had no answers. Based upon what the Detroit Pistons have done to the Knicks in the previous 2 games and then what we saw happen today, I don't think Mike Brown has an answer for how to play these Detroit Pistons yet. Does that mean he won't by playoffs? No, it does not. Does not at all. Basketball, sports, is a game of adjustments. Continually adjusting. Remember, game 2 against the Pistons, we didn't have Cat or OG, who are pivotal to our ability to succeed on the court. But they also didn't have Jalen Duren in that game. And then they didn't have Jalen Duren again. And they still were able to reach that level of defensive intensity that they are able to reach with him on the court. That tells you that their game plan is better than ours. Right there. Why was Cat in drop coverage so much this game? Why weren't they blitzing Cade enough? Why weren't they being physical and pushing him to the sidelines? Why? Because they didn't want to? They didn't feel it? Come on. Really? Wild. All right, let's get into it here. This man is not happy either. Look at that. It's not even the final score. Final score is 126-111. Actually, Knicks outscored them 8-6 for the rest of from this point on. But that is the expression that all Knicks fans probably had at this point in the game. To be owned and abused and humiliated on your own home floor is just unacceptable. Here was the final score, 126 to 111. Now, I tweeted this out, and I got a variety of comments, which is interesting. Mostly from Knicks, the comments were from Pistons fans saying, oh, I don't know, basketball, whatever. The hand is part of the ball. Yeah, I know that. But all hand is not the ball. You have to have your hand on the ball. And if you hit the hand as well, okay, that's part of the ball. But you can't hit all hand, and you can't hit wrist. You cannot hit wrist. As shown here. Wait, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Oh, I had it here. Oh, well. Or here, I can show you here. Here, right there. All wrist. Here we go. Look at this. He's grabbing OG's wrist right here. That is a foul. No call, nothing. Nothing whatsoever. Yeah, I don't know anything about basketball, right? Yeah. Again, don't understand what Brown's game plan was against Detroit tonight. Ian Begley tweeted this out. Regarding Cade Cunningham, Mike Brown said New York Knicks didn't force him to the sidelines. Let him get to the middle of the floor too often. One of Knicks' defensive adjustments during pre-All-Star winning streak, forcing ball to the sideline. Cunningham seemed to get anywhere he wanted tonight. Anywhere. Got anywhere he wanted tonight. That is absolutely true. And Jeremy Sohan, the new acquisition the Knicks had, checks into the game in the first half. He plays 26 seconds. That was it. Then later on, he was on the court later on, but the Knicks, the game was already out of hand by then. Why didn't... I don't understand why OG wasn't on Cade more often. Too often, it was like Landry Shamet on Cade, Mikal Bridges, who just can't handle Cade Cunningham at all. Look, let me tell you something about Cade Cunningham. I know today all these tweets came out or whatever. He's saying he's the best American player in the NBA and all that stuff. I mean, fine. It's good for you to think that yourself, but I don't think he's the best, even the best player, American player in the East. Jalen Brunson, to me, is clearly the best player, and he's already proven that. Cade has to defeat Brunson in the playoffs to be able to say that. He hasn't done that. It was fine for him to feel it, but there's no doubt that he's a great player. I saw it in college. I wished that we had the number one draft pick to draft him when he was available to come into the league. I would love for him to be a Knick. I would love for him to be a Knick alongside Jalen Brunson. That would be the best backcourt in the National Basketball Association. No doubt about it. But at the end of the day, he does commit a lot of turnovers. He gets cold a lot. He tightens up in the playoffs. He tends to disappear. He's not the greatest defender. He's a good defender. He's a decent defender, but sometimes he can check out. But all that said, he is definitely, a great player. No doubt about that. So he deserves all his flowers. He was fantastic tonight. I think he scored 40 points and had 10 assists. Fabulous game for him tonight. He deserves all the flowers. He came into the Garden. He owned the Knicks. He showed who, in his opinion, who he thinks is the best player in the NBA. And he backed it up with the play tonight. So shout out to him for that. That's all you can say. Well, this is what I opened the show with, basically in regards to certain games having extra meaning, which is what Mike Brown was intimating a couple days ago, or even I think it was just yesterday. Recent Knicks history has shown regular season results is not always indicative of postseason results. Last year, New York Knicks was 1-3 versus Detroit, 0-4 versus Boston, and 2-1 versus Indiana. In the playoffs, New York beat both Detroit and Boston in 6, then lost to Indiana in 6. That said, we need the Knicks to not play from behind like this, because it's a difference between Detroit last year was a very young team, and they made a tremendous turnaround from the season before. Tremendous turnaround. They played us tough as nails in that first round. Lost in 6. They believe if they had Isaiah Stewart, they would have beaten us. That's what they believe. And now they have 3 regular season games under them where it's affirmed that belief in them. So they psychologically are going to go into the playoffs believing that they are dominant. They have the dominance over the Knicks. And then it's going to require the Knicks to reverse that in the playoffs. That's one thing about this team. It's shown that they can do that. They proved it. They have proven it. But it still sucks to lose a game like this tonight. No doubt about it. Sucks tremendously. There he is. 42 points, 13 assists tonight, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. Man, MVP statement at the Garden. Can't argue with that. Cannot argue with that. That's exactly what he did tonight. All right, this was the lead tracker. You can see, about a third of the way into that third quarter, Knicks had chopped this 10-point lead that had ballooned up to 12 right away, chopped it down to 10. They were flowing. They were on a run. I left my notes in the other room. I wish I had them right now, but I don't have them. The Knicks were cooking, and then slowly just started getting beat to loose balls, and they could not make a 3. They were just incompetent from the 3-point line tonight. Just could not make a 3. This is the second half stats where they woke up a little bit. They shot 7 of 19 from the 3-point line, nearly 37%. But that doesn't make up for what they did in the first half. The first half, look at this. What did I say? 1 of 16. 1 of 16. They shot 6.2% from the 3-point line. While the Pistons shot 6 of 15. That's an additional 15 points. They were up 10 at the half. And it's all right there in the 3-point line. When this Knicks team is not making threes, then that means they have to battle for every loose ball. They have to create second chance opportunities, and that was just not happening at all tonight. They were in second chance opportunities. Pistons were up 5-3. Points in the paint, it was pretty even. Knicks were up 30-28 at that point, which is had but that's not enough of a differential when you are down 15 from the 3-point line. And then fast break points, the Knicks were up 8-5 right there. But in the second half, it was a completely different story. The Knicks, did put up 63 points. That's one thing. That's a big difference. In previous games against the Detroit Pistons, the Knicks were completely ineffectual offensively as well. Tonight, that wasn't the story. But the points in the paint was a reversal. Pistons won that in the second half, 30-26. Second chance points. Look at that, 14 to just 6. Pistons were +8 in second chance points. Fast break points. Pistons were 13, and we only had 8, so they were +5. So they won all of the hustle categories. Points in the paint, second chance points, and fast break points in the second half. Meanwhile, the Knicks were actually starting to make their buckets. And Karl-Anthony Towns woke up in the second half. He delivered 19 points after only having 3 shot attempts in the first half. Jalen Brunson delivers 20 points himself. Landry Shamet woke up in that fourth quarter after struggling for most of the game. He looked completely ineffectual most of the time. He was having a terrible game. Then he finally hit a corner 3. He finished with 12 points. But Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, first game back, it's hard to be too upset about this. We know this is not the OG Anunoby that we're going to continue to see tonight. Unfortunately, we needed the demon OG Anunoby, and tonight it wasn't there. His first game back, he was rusty. Alvarado, probably, I think this is probably his worst game that I've seen him as a Knick. He was a team worst -9 in the second half. Actually, let's get to the full game stats. That'll tell us a lot. That's right, Lewis Cipher. Knicks not good shooters at times. When we get cold, we get iceberg cold. It ain't pretty. Pistons only had 4 players in double figures. Knicks as well also had 4 players in double figures. But when it came down to the hustle stat, look at rebounding, 44-38. Detroit Pistons. They were +6 there. 9 rebounds. They did commit more turnovers than we did. That's interesting right there. Personal fouls, we got called for 22. They got called for 20. And but when it comes down to it, the Knicks went to the free throw line 28 times, connected on 21 of them. And a lot of that was, look, OG hit a free throw. Josh Hart hit missed a free throw. He hit one too. Mitch Robinson, he was a team worst, -15 tonight. That's surprising. And we even saw minutes of the double big lineup together that I thought were effective to some degree. What I would have loved to have seen is for Mike Brown to go lean in completely into like the defensive death lineup, where you have Alvarado, you have OG, you have Mitch, you have Sohan, and OG. Oh, did I say OG already? Sohan, yeah, and then I guess McCall would be the 5th guy. Just lean in to just an all-defensive lineup for a stretch to push the Detroit Pistons out of their comfort zone. Because these guys they're streaky shooters. When they start getting comfortable, as Cade did, nothing you can do is going to stop him. So the trick is to not, obviously, not let them get comfortable. And once they make a bucket or two, immediately start double teaming, blitzing them, even foul them, to frustrate them, get them out of their go-to moves. Instead, there was one play, Sohan came in. Sohan had played a decent defense on him at one point in that second, late in that, I think it was in the fourth quarter, maybe late third quarter. And then Cade just did a nice move, step back 3, buried it right in front of Sohan, and that was a key play right there. Where the Knicks had woke up and were making a little bit of a run in that fourth quarter. They cut the game down to 12. Yeah, it was about here, like midway through the fourth quarter. They cut the lead down to 12 from it had once reached a high of 19. They cut it down to 12. You're like, okay. Immediately they push it back up to 19. Cade connected on a three-pointer. He drove. He got fouled. and then boom, it was back up to 19. 0 ties. And the Knicks did lead by 7 points at one point. Here's the team comparisons. Brunson. Look, it's not like Brunson didn't come through tonight. He did come through eventually. He wasn't that great in the first half. He gave you 13 points, but they were inefficient. He was only 4 of 11 from the field, 1 of 4 from the 3-point line. He had committed 3 turnovers, some bad passes, like really, momentum-killing turnovers. He was definitely one of the reasons why the Knicks were down by 10 at the end of that first half. But in the second half, he stepped up big time. Made 8 of 9 buckets, 2 of 3 from the 3-point line. I just wish he had attempted more threes. That's one thing. Once you start hitting them, make more of them. But again, 3 turnovers for him. And when the ball's in your primary ball handler's hands and he's committing turnovers, easy. Just passing it right to a Detroit Piston and it turns into a fast break on the other end. It's demoralizing. It's exhausting. You're like they're battling. You're trying to chip away at a lead, and then you get a couple buckets, and then suddenly you create a couple turnovers. You commit a couple turnovers, and the lead is back up to what it was after you had whittled it down some. But in general, Brunson had a pretty effective game. He shot 60% from the field, 12 of 20, 3 of 7 from the 3-point line. It's almost 43%. He had all 6 of his free throw attempts, as well did Cat did. He had 8 assists, 2 steals, but did end up with 6 turnovers. He finished with 33 points, was a -9. Cat, interestingly, in his 31 minutes, was even. And OG Anunoby, even though only give you 8 points, was 1 of 8 from the 3-point line, he was a +1 in plus-minus. So really it came down to those bench minutes, like Alvarado, completely ineffectual from the 3-point line, 0 for 5. This is after him hitting 8 3-pointers in the previous game against the Sixers. Look. Alvarado's a good player. He's a nice player. You know, you want his tenacity, his dog mentality, but he's not a great player. You know, and he's not a consistent player. He's not a consistent 3-point shooter as well. This season, he may be, I think it's the second best 3-point shooting he's had all career, but his best he's ever shot is 37%. So he's around 36% this year. He's not Deuce. This Knicks team, not to create excuses or anything, but it's clear to see to someone like myself who watches every single minute of every single game and rewatches a lot of them, this Knicks team is missing Deuce McBride. When Detroit would be going on those runs, 9-0 run, 10-0 run, or like to start developing a 6-0 or 7-0 run that could turn into a 9-0 run or whatever, it would be Deuce who would hit that momentum-shifting 3 that he creates on his own, where we don't have guys right now who are doing that. OG needs to be set up. He needs to have a catch and shoot. Once in a while, he can do a step back, 3 or whatever, but he wasn't on tonight, so boom, that's gone. Mikal Bridges, maybe he could do the pull-up 3 coming down. He pulls it up, but he wasn't on tonight. He was 0 for 3 himself. Landry Shamet, there was a moment in that third quarter where the Knicks had momentum. He had the ball. He came down the court. I think it was off a turnover. He could have pulled up and shot the 3. No, instead, he decided to drive, and it ended up in an empty possession. I can't remember what actually ended up happening, but it wasn't a possession of positive minutes. Jose Alvarado, 0 for 5. No one was creating offense tonight on their own, other than Jalen Brunson. But Brunson needs, the screen set for him as well. Cat, he did a decent job in that second half, definitely, after a very, shockingly absent first half. I don't really understand, again, why Coach Brown would allow his all-star center, his all-NBA center, to play 15 minutes and only attempt 3 buckets in that first half. So the Knicks were already playing with their backs against the wall, down 10. And a lot of it was in that very final, the last couple minutes of that second quarter. Because at one point the Knicks were like 3 points. They were right there. They were only 3 points behind the Pistons. And then they let the Pistons go on and close the quarter on a 7-0 run. And now they were up 10. Look, Pistons have firmly established themselves as the best team in the East right now. This was a game where the Knicks could have altered that narrative. If I was to put money down on it right now, who's going to win the East? Right now, the smart money would probably go on the Pistons. But NBA is a very, very interesting sport. It doesn't really work that way. What could happen in the playoffs is a whole different animal. It's really a different type of game. And the Knicks have proven that this same team, basically, with better depth, that they have the ability to go deep into this playoffs. But all that is but they've shown it. But games like tonight can create doubt in people, and that is very legitimate. There's no doubt about that. But I'm not at all jumping ship. It's frustrating. There's no doubt about that. One of the things that I am concerned about are the next 10 games. And really it was 11 games when you include tonight's game. Let's go back to this. So these were the next 11 games from tonight until March 9th, which is the last game against the Clippers at MSG. The Knicks were going to play 11 teams, 8 of which have a winning record. That's including Detroit. 8 of which have a winning record. 8 of 11 have a winning record. And the Clippers are one of the teams that have a losing record. But, they've been on a great run of late themselves, even though they did trade Harden away. 7 of the top 9 teams in winning percentage are the teams the Knicks are going to play in the next 2.5 weeks, including Detroit. So the Knicks are playing the best teams in the NBA in the next, now let's just look forward to the next 10 games. Houston, Cleveland, San Antonio, OKC, Denver, Lakers. Those are all the top 4 or 5 teams in both conferences. And then the other team that's in the top 9 that the Knicks are not going to play during the stretch is the Boston Celtics, who they did beat the heck out of not that long ago. Toronto is the other team that has a winning record that the Knicks are playing during this stretch. And they're playing in Toronto, which is, not necessarily a terrible thing for the Knicks. There's a lot of Knicks fans make the trip up to Toronto, but that's a must-win game. They're all must-win games at this point. If the Knicks want to make a legitimate claim that they will be one of the top 2 to 3 seeds in the NBA. So they lost to Detroit tonight. They play Houston on Saturday. And then it's a back-to-back. They play in Chicago. That's one of the losing teams that they're playing. And then they play the Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland next Tuesday. Then Friday, they play in Milwaukee. That's another one. That's one of the losing teams. That's it, pretty much. Oh, and the Clippers. But the Clippers, really, I don't count them as a losing team. So it's like 9 winning teams in the next 11 games. Including Detroit tonight. And then they play. Then they host San Antonio at the Garden, who they lost to in San Antonio, but beat in Vegas in the NBA Cup final. So that'll be a fascinating game. Look how many of these games are going to be nationally broadcast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of these 11 games, including tonight's game, are nationally broadcast. They played the Toronto March 3rd, and then they have a back-to-back. Unfortunately, they travel from Toronto back home. They play OKC, and then, which is OKC is the top team in the West, and then they host the Denver Nuggets. They go to Denver. That's a brutal schedule. So they go to Toronto. So they have a 3-game road trip: Chicago, Cleveland, Milwaukee. Come home for 1 game against the Spurs. Travel to Toronto. Play Toronto, come home to play OKC, and then go on a West Coast trip to play Denver, Lakers, and Clippers. And that ends that brutal 11-game stretch, including tonight's game. If the Knicks had gone, it would go 8-3 during that stretch, I would be very, very happy. 7-4, I'll take. They got off to a bad start tonight. So they're down 0-1. So they have to take care of business against Houston, Chicago, Cleveland, Milwaukee. Beat the Spurs. Take care of business against Toronto. Who knows what's going to happen with OKC by then. The Knicks have played Denver very well, though they struggle playing Denver in Denver. Though I think they're 5-1 in the last 6 games against Denver. And Knicks have not fared well in the back-to-backs, the LA trip back-to-backs. Maybe we'll get a split out of that. So there you go. That's 8-3. It can do it. We can do it. The beauty of that is the final 16 games of the season are against a lot of losing teams. In fact, there's only one. Well, you count Charlotte's been super hot. 2, OKC. 3, Houston. And then Boston and Toronto. So 5 of the last 16 games are against winning teams. So if the Knicks can get through the next 10 games, they have which are brutal, like really devastatingly tough, and finish with a better than a 500 record in that trip, the Knicks will be looking good for the remaining 16 games. And hopefully, Knicks can get Deuce back for those final maybe 8 games. And then this team will be whole again. And finish, because at this point they're not going to pass Detroit, but they still have a legitimate chance to finish second in the NBA, in the East. The East. So that's where we're at right now. That is where we're at right now. Slow Runner thinks he wouldn't be surprised if Knicks go on a long losing streak. I would be surprised. I would definitely be surprised. Now. All right. Let's see. Was there anything else that I missed? It was always worth revisiting. All right. I'm gonna wrap it up soon. Thank you guys for rolling up here with me. Appreciate it. Like always, you guys are the best. If you're watching this later on, or if you're watching this now, but have some thoughts about anything, just drop it in the comments. I try to read them all, and I appreciate your feedback tremendously. Share the video. Hit the thumbs up button for me. If you want to support Into the Knicks-Verse, join the channel, the membership down below. Hit the join button, or check out the merch store, Knicks-Verse shop.square.site, and get the dad hats. This is the distressed one. There's a bunch of different cool hats and gear, t-shirts and hoodies and stuff. Check that out. And don't dismay. Don't dismay. That is like the major thing I want to communicate across. Yes, no doubt, Pistons are owning our asses. They beat our asses tonight. But there's a long way to go. Long way to go. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for watching this. Again, my name is George. Please subscribe. Hit the thumbs up button for me. And I will see you around the Knicks-Verse. Let's go.